Start right now. Jonathan, welcome to WP-Tonic, episode 45. Welcome, Jonathan.
Oh, hello there, Bill.
Hello. Well, we're at 45, and I just hit the highs in the input. We're going to leave it on, though.
Yeah.
Hey, what we're going to talk about today, Jonathan, and we talked about this ahead of time, is I'm going to talk about my plight in the last 2 years with WordPress and my business and podcasting and sort of how I thought WordPress was simpler than it really is. And
But
how
it is and it isn't, isn't
Yeah,
it?
that's the what's a dichotomy? It is, but it isn't. And
It's a bit like a marriage, really, isn't it, Bill?
and we know a lot of our audience are other WordPress programmers. This is oriented towards WordPress. But so I'm going to go to my background, and you're going to sort of talk a little bit or laugh at me or whatever you want to do. I'm drinking coffee.
We're aimed at the beginners all the way up to seasoned developers. I think from our live show, which is more aimed at the professional, to our regular show that's aimed at the beginner to intermediate, Bill.
Right. And what I'm going to say is the first thing I'm going to say is the biggest mistake I made was, well, two, actually. First of all,
beating me, Bill.
let me go back. Let me think here. Before we talk about those mistakes, first of all, I 34 years in the military, reservist for half of them, on and off during the wars, had a business, design, build, construction. Always had a website in our real estate company, which was basically DOS, but we paid someone to maintain that, and we'd go back and forth. And I'd do some DOS on the backside, and I would train my people to put the pictures for the listings up, and they very complicated, but it worked. And we paid a agency to run our website for 10 years, and it worked great. And the real estate company did well. And it was all we needed, and it was enough. And we had IDX back then into that DOS. That's what made it work. And they had sort of like an iframe today. So anyway, been around for a long time. Always into politics. Found that politicians just needed a basic website. So I used to make simple HTML websites for my friends and myself that basically cost $5 a month. We just have a bio, made a little PDF tag to do a donation, things of that nature. PDF, a printed PDF up, and you send in the donation. Real simple. And web pages weren't as critical as they are now. They're more critical now into politics and of course, in real estate. But the big change was I went away for 5 years in the military in a program. I came back, and we'd moved away from our Exchange server and our contact management and come back to this new world of the cloud. And the website being even more important and can do even more than what it used to be able to do. And that beast called WordPress. So that brings me up to where I am. I'm coming back in 2012 on December 7th, 2012 from Afghanistan, finishing up in the military from the last time. And then thinking, what do I want to do? I want to do something different. So I love the concept of podcasting and actually training too. So I was looking at actually training real estate agents, believe it or not. You don't know this, but I was looking at creating a CD course for real estate agents, but we wouldn't do that anymore, or even a CD to send out each month to real estate agents with tips and tricks on them, things of that nature. But you don't do that anymore. You got podcasting, which is it is free. You've got webinars, which are free, and you've got training, which can be charged. You can charge for training. So that going, I discovered podcasts. And John Lee Dumas, I think we were already friends on LinkedIn, and I'm not sure who I found first. John Lee Dumas hadn't started his training course yet, but I like podcasts. I thought there's a lot of potential. Wanted to learn to do podcasts. Well, I hooked in with another organization, which is Dave Jackson, and did podcasts. But what I found was you can do a podcast, you can do great work, but you've got to have a great platform. You've got to have a good website doing a lot of things for you if you want to monetize it, or even if you want to grow your email list. And by the way, before you monetize, you got to grow your email list and your funnel and your audience. And that saying, I got into WordPress. And I said, the WordPress is simple. I can set up a free site blog, and I can post my podcasts. But really, it goes way past that. And there's a lot of ins and outs on this online business. Plugins, real plugins are expensive. Licenses are expensive. Development is expensive. Understanding a little bit about programming behind the scenes. Understanding how to make sure your WordPress site is safe. All the things that we talk about are there. And I started going almost 2 years ago to the WordPress meetup in Reno here. And that's where we met. And let me tell you, first things first. one of the best things I've done is go almost religiously to that WordPress meetup. I like that WordPress meetup. It's down at the Reno Collective. Mike Fitzpatrick and Jonathan has gone out and has hosted it and worked it. That's where Jonathan and I met. And Jonathan actually came to me after I was suffering through WordPress. And really, we developed this podcast, which you're listening to together, which is when I enjoy. So that said, mistakes I've made. Jonathan, you've probably seen a lot of them, and you see them with your clients. Before I go into the mistakes I've made, what are some of the mistakes you see commonly made with your clients out there? And who are your clients?
Well, they've been mostly small to medium-sized businesses, Bill. Mistakes. Well, I think when it comes to business, I think if you've got flaws in your business in the real world, the website generally will just reflect your weaknesses. But if you really got to sort out, what you want to actually say on the website, and
it makes you think. That's interesting. You're not thinking of the mechanics of the website. You're thinking about the design and graphics.
Well, the message.
The message.
And they also do have a tendency to think it's like print. So they do keep saying, well, when we get it finished, but they never get it finished because it's not something that ever should be finished.
You're saying it's not static.
Exactly. It's ongoing. They should be updating it. But what do you see, Bill? You just see a lot of websites that are left to die month after month, year after year, don't you?
Sort of like podcasts, pod fading.
Yeah, and it's not a resource thing, because a lot of this they could do themselves, and it doesn't have to be. You got video cameras now in your smartphone. You can take pictures of clients. In your hand, most people in their hand have a pretty sophisticated device where they can take sound, images, videos, and get them up on their website and on their social media. And we're now in 2015, and I still not, and it's got nothing to do with older people. I hear people in their late 20s, in the early 30s, saying, well, we don't understand social media. We don't understand this. We don't understand that. But on the other hand, there's an unlimited amount of advice and information on the internet, isn't there, Bill?
Some that's very, very good, too. And you can find anything. You can figure just about anything out on the internet quickly. I found something out on my military retirement today, but boom, I just found it.
Yeah, and you can find out pretty rapidly, who are the thought leaders in a particular sector, and then you can follow them on social media, and they normally got websites, and they normally do podcasting, or they do video. If you wanted to learn about social media, you probably start following Vanacek, and some of the other leaders like John Loomer that we had on. And there's
John Loomer, yeah.
There's half a dozen kind of social media people, and they offer a lot of free material, so you could rapidly learn quickly. And there's certainly no shortage of good training materials on WordPress, is there? And we're part of that, Bill, aren't we?
Yes, but and I've actually signed into Lynda too. I'll probably be up on Lynda this summer for a couple of months because my kids are out of school. And they'll have more time on the computer to study and train. I'll make them go in there and do a little bit of work. But let me go back. That's very good. That's very good. Let me go back to my 2 years. First of all, I think there's two different personalities of people. Some people think they don't try stuff because they're scared of failure. I don't think that's one of my faults. I'll try stuff. I'll drive forward. Sometimes I'll oversimplify stuff just to get it going and not go down and get the basics down pat. John Wooden is one of my heroes as a coach. He was the coach, the winning coach for UCLA, top winning collegiate coach ever. And he used to every year go back with each team, and the first thing he did, and this is lore, he would teach them how to tie their shoes for basketball. and they would go through the basics, how to dribble the ball, how to pass the balls. No matter how good you are, you went through his basics as you climbed up with his team when they started, and then you know how he played, and his record is phenomenal at UCLA. But you have to get the basics down. Sometimes I'll rush or try to get through those faster. So one of my issues is inch by inch, it's a cinch. That's another John Wooden saying. What I may have done early on is, I don't know, I did the podcast sort of, and then I did the website. I should have really, to me, got the website down, the basics down sooner, and gone through the basic courses of a website, then hit the podcast.
Well, you say that, Bill, but I don't totally agree.
I'm talking about 3 weeks. 3 weeks.
Yeah, but what I'm talking about, Bill, is, but not no, that's probably too harsh, maybe. But example is Pat Flynn. You know, we both like Pat.
Right. We like
and
Pat.
I probably will try and get him on WP-Tonic, actually, Bill.
If you can get him WP-Tonic, I'll buy you a steak dinner at
Oh, well, it's done, Bill.
Tell him it's going to be...
I wasn't going to tell you, but he is actually coming on the show, Bill.
No.
So you owe me...
Are you kidding me? No.
You already owe me a steak dinner. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, my God. Are you serious?
No, I'm kidding you. But
if you get him on, I'll buy you a steak dinner.
I think he'll come on.
Well, good luck. I mean, okay.
Right. But if we get Pat on, we will get Pat on. Because I have exchanged some emails with him, Bill, and I am actively...
Amazing, very good. And with one of his assistants, I'm sure. But, Pat's not quite like John Lee Dumas. Don Lee Dumas has
he's a bit more approachable. Actually, I actually have spoken to him directly by email, Bill, and he's a nice guy.
Everyone says he's a nice guy. I sat next to him at on a couple of seminars.
So he is a successful podcaster, Bill, but he knows the fundamentals, but he didn't develop his own site, Bill.
He started first with the online. Are you sure he didn't develop his early web pages?
Well, he's early, yes, but when he started to build success and credibility, he did not continue to become, when he had the resources to hire somebody, he had it done professionally, Bill.
Right. I agree. You have to have people you trust.
You've got to have a team. But, you really got to decide, and I can be accused of this, and just as much, and I'm trying to rectify it, and it's so easy to do. It's really easy to try and become a jack of everything. Jack
of all trades.
Yep. And
I could be accused of that.
At a certain stage, you need that. But, Pat Flynn does not want to become a web developer. He wants to become a content provider and an influencer. And that's what his focus is about. And he actually, in one of his interviews about 6-8 months ago, his sites got hacked because he was trying to administer his sites himself on Bluehost.
No, he's been off Bluehost for a while. He still markets Bluehost, though.
Yeah, but and this isn't...
He's got other websites, too, he plays with.
Well, he was administrating, and Bluehost were running his sites, and he was actively administrating them, and they got hacked. And 3 of his main websites were down for over 4 days. Mm-hmm. He no longer administrates his websites, Bill.
He's got that, yeah.
He has somebody else administrating his websites.
I think he's got his main website is definitely administrated, but he's got some other Bluehost sites still.
Yeah, I'm sure he has. And don't get me wrong, I think for the right type of client, in the right circumstance, Bluehost is perfectly fine.
I think it's a great,
SiteGround, I utilize it, but I do not use SiteGround all the time. And I also do some hosting myself for some clients. So it's different. The right tool, the right service, at the right
Yeah.
moment, isn't it?
No, I agree. And like I said, I was on with Bluehost the other day, and I knew more than the tech person I was talking to
Yeah.
at Bluehost. Because
But what do you really like doing, Bill? Do you actually like interviewing? Do you really like the podcasting more than the WordPress, or do you really like the WordPress more than the podcasting, Bill?
oh, that's a good question. First of all, I think the WordPress site is extremely important. Let me go to my mistakes real quick. I'm going to wrap the mistakes. I have some of the top plugins you can imagine, and let me pull up a quick list here. So it, but it takes a while to learn a plugin, right? To
Well,
really,
some of them are quite complicated.
uh, yeah. I mean, there's some that are very simple, but those
Yeah.
aren't the ones that we're talking about here. But
Well, example,
yeah, I
WooCommerce,
don't have
who
WooCommerce.
recently got bought out by Automat, is a plugin, but that is not a simple plugin. You know, it has option after option after option screen, and you know, you can integrate a host of third-party plugins. It is not a, and it's like some of the membership plugins we looked at. You know, some of those have a lot of options.
Yep. Yep. Hey, let me tell you some of the ones I think the services and SaaSes I pay for. There's three big ones. Other than my Bluehost site, which is about $300 a year because I've got a dedicated IP and I've got 24 WordPress sites, which I'm gonna reduce the number of those because of just the maintenance on them and the plugin updates and things. But here's the things. I paid for Gravity Forms. That's a hefty license for a Developer Pro license, which I can build
It
my
is.
sites on. That's a tough. Actually, they say it is, but you still have to learn Gravity Forms. It can do so much. I mean, you could spend days just. You could always learn more what you can do in Gravity Forms. They can
Well,
do anything.
it's the perfect example, and I really think this is an excellent episode we're doing here, Bill, because we're covering some things that really the learner beginner really needs to understand. To get your average contact us form set up in Gravity Form is really quite easy, but then it's got condition logic inbuilt
Yes,
with it. You can do multiple pages. They've got if you get the developers license, they do
which I have.
integration with Mailchimp and Campaign Monitor or Infusionsoft, your favorite, Bill.
Very good. No,
Um,
no. Well, very easy integration with
yeah,
Aweber and Mailchimp. And
they do.
Infusionsoft, not so easy.
Yeah, they do integration with Stripe, PayPal. It goes on and on and on. So you can really be sucked down as a beginner learner into a warren. I think you just got to make some decision. How far are you going to take this? And when do you actually call somebody in to actually help you? If you can't afford that, or you don't feel you can, you continue because you know you got a lot of time on yours. But if you haven't,
No one, you know, hey, first of all, when you start the podcast, you realize that you don't have a lot of time. It's hard to explain. Podcasters never have enough time. A content developer, because you're using a different part of your brain to create this content. It's like art, and it takes a lot of effort. You have to stop and think about what you're going to do, write out, outline your shows. There's a
yeah,
lot to it. A podcaster, podcasting takes time. Podcasters don't have time. They're creative people. They don't have time. But anyway, the other things too. I had lead pages, which is good, but it's expensive, and you got to learn how to use that. It's a little easier, not too hard to learn use lead pages and hook it in. But you still have to understand how to use either Mailchimp or
yeah.
Aweber.
But the fact with that, it's a great product. It's a great company. But I haven't looked at their pricing structure. But the people that I know that have bought into that, you're talking about, to get it to a level where they feel that they're getting the full value. It's $1,100 a year.
Not quite
Uh,
that much. You can get a pretty good package for about 300 a year
right.
with a basic package. And the next level, it's pretty good. That's if you want them to do everything for you.
Yeah. But it's a bit like email marketing, Bill. You got to get to a certain level of traffic level and of engagement on your website, in my opinion, to really make that kind of investment worth the, unless, to make it worthwhile doing, because there are WordPress, like one that does sign up is Option Monster. They're a well-known WordPress plugin pop-up sign up. You can't make whole pages, but they've gone to a SaaS model recently. But there are other alternatives that might not have all the bells and whistles of lead pages.
Well, with Gravity Forms, you could just make on your own website. You can make your own squeeze pages if you want to. You make different pages and squeeze from page to page.
But it's the layout,
and you're using it's
knowing your CS. It is a quick and a very effective tool. I just feel that I've seen this too much. People think buying services and plugins will fundamentally help or solve a more fundamental problem, Bill.
Yeah, that's it. We'll go in more detail in a second. Let me talk about the last one I want to talk about, Infusionsoft. Infusionsoft, everyone, it seems to me, on the top of the totem pole doing well has Infusionsoft. I was listening to an interview of John Lee Dumas, not a show, but today, of another podcaster I'm running a review for. And I'm going to I'll talk about Podcaster's Helmet in a second at the end. But Infusionsoft, John Lee Dumas, I've heard him say different things. And he said today, I thought he said earlier that he got into Infusionsoft too soon. I think you said it. You need about 10,000 people on your list before you get into Infusionsoft because it's expensive. It's going to cost you $1,100 to $1,200 up front and $200+ a month just to maintain it. So Infusionsoft, and there's a big learning curve in Infusionsoft, huge. And what I've seen is on these big firms, maybe there's a couple of partners, one person is spending a lot of time on Infusionsoft. Running it, developing the mail list, coordinating the marketing within the company itself. And that's what you do in Infusionsoft. But by the time you do those and you're podcasting, it's a time factor. So the biggest mistake is the management of time. And I think we've had some of our guests talk about time management.
I've been hopeless at it, and the days just drift by, and the weeks drift by, and the months drift by, and it's really, you've got to be much more disciplined and much more focused.
And then if we do these podcasts with just dynamite people, and you and I do pretty well on WP-Tonic because you pick up a lot of the notes, you really set up the guests. It's a tech show. I'm doing sort of the backside podcasting, little editing and uploading and doing the show with you. It works really well. I like that's by far I like all my shows. That's my favorite show. I have another show called timelineofsuccess.com. That's a fun show. It's just me and a guest. But that takes a lot of time on the editing, and we're going to continue that show. But I did it every day for a while. Now I'm going to do it limited. I'm going to only do a couple interviews a month. And then I've got Politics of Success, which is once a month, which I really like. And I do that sort of solo, but that takes a lot of creative work. On top of everything else, it's just a lot of time. So time management. But I got to say another thing, too, is since we're downsizing timelines, we're going to pick up something called Podcaster's Home, which is oriented towards podcasters. You can find it on Facebook right now, Podcaster's Home. The webpage is just a shell right now. We're interviewing people for that right now. But that's another story. But so biggest mistakes. I would like to really had my schematic, my webpage, and collecting email and systems to collect email set up early, and then learn how to use, I would say, lead pages.
I actually totally disagree with you.
You don't think so? And hook that in with the website and make sure it's all working and functional. No, it doesn't have to be beautiful. It can be a fundamental, stable. It doesn't have to be too crazy a website.
I totally disagree.
So what do you think? What do you think? Well, that's what I think.
Yeah, and you might be right.
And I spent a lot of money, by the way. And
you did?
And I haven't, on my own, and I spent a ton of time. I can't tell you how many Saturdays and Sundays I've laid there studying, WordPress and systems, little code. I'm constantly working, or I try to cut out not going late at night. But there's a lot to it. So go ahead, tell me what you think. What do you think?
Well, I think I think there was a more fundamental problem, Bill. I think
fundamental.
Yeah, basically, you came in with me with WP-Tonic, and we really built a fun show. And I hope we are giving value.
And it's building. The numbers are building.
Week. the feedback we get, and I truly try and give value to our listeners, um, and it's helped me, my publicity, and yourself.
Social credibility, absolutely.
Yeah,
For podcasting, if you have
but
to have decent
I
content.
think when it comes to your other shows, I really don't. I sense that you hadn't really clarified precisely who your target audience was and you were trying to find that. In some ways, I think you're getting some more clarity, but the other shows, but they're also you're an excellent interviewer and an excellent podcaster. So, but now you just need to focus on your other shows, precisely who your
Yeah.
audience is and what do they really need.
Well,
But
let me tell you who my audience is on timelines. I've committed timelines is not going to be a high dollar show because I'm moving more in timelines towards interviewing West Point grads, uh, people in history, some books, more eclectic. It's eclectic, but it's interesting stories about people who have had success in some aspect. But the number one shows are the shows that train, teach, and maybe go into detail or even how to make money per se.
mhm.
The time, like timelines, that's more of a, a few West Pointers here and there. It's just different. So that's for me. And politics is something that I use to build on because it's a limited audience in this politics business online. I mean, there aren't a lot of people tuning in all the time. In fact, a lot of people hate politics,
Yeah. Um,
despise it.
but look at Pat, but it isn't easy, Bill, because look at Pat Flynn.
Smart, uh,
I don't
smart and simple. What is it? Smart.
I'm not
Go ahead.
precisely sure who his audience really is.
Uh, Smart and passive income. Pat Flynn.
I
It's
suppose
people who want to make
it
money online passively with a website. That's what he does. He's written books.
yeah,
In fact, he still doesn't have a product yet. He's done
that
everything
yeah.
by affiliate, a lot of affiliate links, a little bit of speaking money.
But who would
Um,
have believed that you could build up the kind of show base that he has with people that are looking, that would really buy into that week after week after week. And, he has great guests and he's a very good podcaster, very great interviewer.
Now
But
he
who would have believed that? So,
he wrote a book and put it online basically, and that's how he started his first
yeah.
money. I mean,
So I think you looked at the technology understandably, but I think you would have been better initially focused on getting a usable website that you could have done yourself, and then really concentrated about what audience for your main show. I'm not talking about WP-Tonic because I was always very focused, wasn't I, that this show was going to be about WordPress with a bit of social media and the other things, but its main focus was going to be around WordPress, and it always will be.
and within the
Uh,
WordPress community, we've been up as far as 12 worldwide,
yeah,
and it's going to continue to move. It's kind of a interesting thing how that
yeah,
works.
it is, isn't it? But with your other shows, I think you need, and you just need to find your audience, find out what is it a big enough audience that could sustain a profitable business, and what are the things that they're really interested in and want to really know, and then give it to them in a podcasting format. But I think you could have utilized MailChimp up to 10,000. You didn't
It's
really need to go.
2,000 MailChimp for free.
Well, you could have gone up to paid for their paid product
That's
up to
500, but still affordable.
yeah,
MailChimp.
totally affordable. You could have used
Or
that,
Aweber. Aweber's good. I had Aweber.
I personally, if you were looking for something better than Mailchimp, I would have gone to Campaign Monitor rather than Aweber, because I just think Campaign Monitor, if you're looking for a better system, is better than. But I think you would have had to go up to 10,000, 12,000 before you would have had to look at that. And you might have not decided, you might have gone jumped up even a higher level. But that would have been a decision then. And I think then, if you had I think you should have concentrated on your mail list before And of course, lead
But when
pages.
you say we failed a little bit on the mail list on WP-Tonic, though,
Well,
and on your SaaS product.
yeah, um, true.
That SaaS product's a whole. We could talk about your SaaS product sometime.
Yeah,
That's
but
MailRight, folks. That's really interesting.
yeah,
But
but
and his audience is like real estate
it took
agents.
me a long time to decide, um, industry fit, how I was
Yeah,
going
I
to
watched
market.
that from a distance. Yeah.
It's taken me over 6 months to really clarify what my target was.
That's for another
But
story. We'll let you talk about that next time because we're
but
going long,
but
Jonathan, and we
yeah,
want to do a commercial for you and me at the end here.
yeah. So I think, and I think some of the things you've done is totally the norm. I think it's a journey, and I think some of the things you've learned, you've done, are not that particularly unusual. And a lot of people who want to market some kind of service and product online have a very similar journey than what you have. And a year, 18 months, a lot of people just give up. But funny enough, if they got the time and finance to allow them to continue, a lot of them, that's when they start becoming successful.
Yeah, and some people go faster than others. Yeah, I you just keep on working. And there's what they call a side hustle. You don't quit if you're doing something else. Let's close it up. We went a little long. One thing I want to say that we absolutely both agree on. I think the way you need to start, and it's my first, and it'll be my commercial, and we'll go into your product. And I think we both agree on this. And you said it, and I've always leaned this direction because of the way I think is the first thing this is Bill. Get your WordPress site basically set up ahead of time. And you can be doing WordPress and podcasting at the same time, learning podcasting. First of all, the way to learn podcasting is I've got a little quick book on basically hooking into Libsyn, $5 a month, and just make some noise, make some sound, record some short shows, even record a quote or something and put it up on Libsyn. You can do that separately from your website. But your website, I think, is going to take more work. And we can get the podcast up pretty darn fast and sounding good. You sound pretty darn good right now, and you're using a USB link into your iMac, right? And you got a stand. You got less than $150 worth of equipment plus your computer, and you sound great now.
Yeah, I do.
I
Thank
taught
you,
you
Bill.
well.
Yes, you did.
No, it was interesting teaching you. I've learned from teaching people. The other thing too I want to say is I have 5 clients I brought into WordPress who are businessmen who've made huge mistakes. Business people, I say men, some are women. Huge mistakes. One of them even lost their domain name to an Indian company, and they're a manufacturer. And I said, "How could you do that?" And you can't get it back. But they tried to go on the cheap, and cheap is under for a commercial site of what they're trying to do under $1,000.
Well,
And it just doesn't work.
I think there's a difference between cheap and good value, isn't there?
Yeah. Anyway, so what I've learned though is it takes time for people to understand WordPress. I've tried 2 different systems where I brought them to basic WordPress and put Genesis Dynamic. Now, we maybe talk about that at a different time about the learning stages or how you think you should teach somebody WordPress and how I think you should teach somebody WordPress. But that said, I think what we both agree on right now is a nice WordPress theme hooked into MailChimp with a way to collect email and your basic Blueberry podcast RSS feed and learning to blog. And that's it. Just do that. And then inch by inch is essential. Get that down pat. Have someone help you get a way to start collecting your email and then how to teach you how to use MailChimp. MailChimp is pretty easy. I have a nonprofit right now that uses MailChimp that we've set them up. It works great. So that's it. That's what I'd tell you initially. Plan on that stage of your life, unless you're going to spend a lot of money, being 6 months. Now, after that point, if you want to really take it to the next stage, you might want to contract out 100% of your website, just understanding how it works, and have an agency work. And that might where it goes into a product like you have, where you host the website for them, maintain it, keep it safe, back it up. Tell them about your product. It'll lead into what you're doing right now.
Well,
and they need to look at your website too.
Yeah, just quickly comment on your last bit. I think the one thing you left out, Bill, is what Marcus Couch touched and it's also still surprisingly a great. If you got an industry and you know about your industry or the topic that you're that you're trying to teach through podcasting, whatever. Now, he pointed out in his interview that if you blog every day
Oh yeah, yeah. Thank you for
and
bringing that up.
not once a
Yes,
month,
yes,
not
yes,
once a
yes.
week, but
Written
literally
words,
blog
written
every
words.
day, and
Yes.
not
Oh,
not
how did I
not
forget that?
200 words, but 500, 1,000
Well,
words a
if you
day,
do 300, I'll be happy with a few
right?
pictures.
But you
Be
blog
realistic.
like 3, 4 times a week.
We don't. I don't do that. We blog, but we don't blog that often.
You will still, and if it's good quality content about your particular sector, it will be indexed by Google. And
It
if you
doesn't have to even be great content, right? It doesn't have to be amazing content.
depend,
I mean, it should be okay, but not great.
right, but just do it.
Yeah,
And
pictures, words.
I think it has to be reasonable content. But you just religiously do it. After 6 months, you will show up in search in a number of search terms, and you will start to dominate your particular niche market.
A
Um,
very good point. You know what? That's a good point to put in. Blog,
blog,
podcast,
blog,
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 and your
blog,
website.
blog, but
But
not,
that said, don't and collect email.
yeah, and collect email.
That means you have to give away a product or something. You can't just have a
I
website.
just want to tell people about it was a serve. That was one of the reasons why we started. With Bill of WP-Tonic, is that we now offer a service through WP-Tonic, a boutique um, maintenance of WordPress sites, and also we offer hosting. And it's really is a boutique service. I'm me and my team. I host a number of websites for my clients, and we make sure that the servers haven't got hundreds of websites on them. At the most, it is shared hosting, but at the most, it's probably got 100 websites on it. And we maintain those websites for clients. It's all WordPress. I'm not aiming it at some enormous boutique e-commerce website or some big membership site. They're mostly small to medium sites, but they're making money from their website, their WordPress website. And we offer boutique maintenance. We have 2 levels where we will keep the core of WordPress and all the plugins up to date. You get free 30-minute jobs per month where we will update something on the site for you. If you've got a small problem with something or a layout and you want it changed, we will do it for you. And basically, you're not on a long-term contract. You pay 3 months in advance. It's $49.99. You pay 3 months in advance. If you're not happy, you don't have to pay another 3 months. So we don't ask for a year up front or anything like this. And if you want us to host the site at that level, we can do it. We make sure it will load up a lot faster than go
At
down.
that price, that's $10 more.
And it will.
$59 for the whole site.
We use servers that have solid state drives, and we make sure it's optimized. And you don't get some anonymous person. If you have a problem with your site, you email me at WP-Tonic, and it will be me that will answer your email.
But you have a team too. Don't
Yeah,
forget that you have a developer team.
I have a team, but
and you've developed SaaS, and that team can work on stuff. That's important.
Yeah, but if you have I know you're trying to help Bill, but if you have a problem with it, it will be me that will be talking to you.
It's not going to be Raj.
No. It's Jonathan Denwood. Jonathan if you got a problem with if you got a problem with your service, you email Jonathan at WP-Tonic.com, and it will be me replying to your message.
Or you go up online and do a little join me or something like that, looking at the site together.
So if you go to services, and we also do emergency work, but if you're looking for a totally boutique to keep your site secure, maintained, maybe look at it and contact me for a chat.
He has another level 2. He didn't tell you about level 2, which is $99 a month, and it's unlimited 30-minute periods.
Unlimited 30-minute.
So here's what you do: you got to do 3 months.
Oh,
go ahead and set that up in 3 months. Set it up for 3 months. It costs $300. You're gonna have an amazing website. Just use the heck out of them, and then drop down to the $49 or the $59.95. Now you built a like $2,000 website.
We do not do that for people, Bill.
That's how you do it.
No, we
start building it.
We are not building people's websites for $99 a month.
No, it's $300.
No, we do not do that, Bill, and we are not going to do that.
Okay, I build the framework in my business, and we'll pass it over to you. They'll get a framework. It can be Genesis Dynamic or Genesis in the theme.
If you feel that 3 jobs a month isn't sufficient and you're looking for a service, we offer unlimited 30-minute jobs, but they will be 30-minute small jobs. We are not building people's websites, Bill.
I build a basic WordPress website for the podcast.
Extremely naughty, Bill. Extremely naughty.
That's a good way to finish. Oh, don't forget to look over at podcastershome.com and join up over at Facebook. And that's the next product, and we'll talk about that later. John, we went 41 minutes today. I didn't expect to go that long. I want to say we've got to be positive, though. All these mistakes, I mean, hard work, you just keep on going. You know, it's something you can always do.
Oh, we're still live, Bill.
Yeah, we're still live, Jonathan.
Yeah, so I'm going to be polite, Bill.
Drive on.
Drive on, Bill.
Drive on. Okay, we'll go off. 1, 2, 3. Goodbye. Farewell.
You naughty person, Bill.